Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Financial Advisors Want to Know show. I'm Catherine Tindall, a partner with Dominion. We're a specialty tax and accounting firm focused specifically for wealth management practices. On today's episode, I have with me a very special guest, Stephanie Bogan. She is a leading practice expert, consultant, coach, speaker, and author with 30 years of field-tested experience building, growing, and selling advisory firms. After selling her firm to a Fortune 200 company, she retired to the beach in Costa Rica and then unretiring to share how she learned to create high-performance happiness for herself and her clients. Thanks for joining me today, Stephanie.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So we were talking a little bit in the pre-show, and I think it's interesting, kind of where our worlds collide, because I'm almost at the end of the very end of the process, right? I'm the income taxes. I'm where, we've had the profits, we've had the activities during the year, it all flows down, and then it has to go through the tax funnel, right? And I think, one of the things that's interesting for us is because our focus is more on the planning side, a lot of my conversations kind of lead back up to, the areas that you're focused on, which is, really how are we scaling these practices? How are we scaling advice and the service, but not watering down the value that the clients are getting and not driving, the firm owner crazy in the process.
Yeah, the very common dilemma, right? Keeping up with your own success.
Yeah. And I see this a lot in practices where a lot of times people will come, when I go through this process with firms, a lot of the times they're like, okay, we want to grow, but we also need to reduce the head count of how many households we're serving, or, we need to level up certain internal people to, empower them to take better roles. But I think when you approach these problems as a coach and advisor, where do you start, when trying to fix this?
Well, it's funny, scaling growth is a very popular topic these days because, right, we've just reached a point where a lot of really good people who really cared about their client showed up and did really good work for 20 or 25 years. And they've reached this point, right, for where they've created a level of success, or they're a lifestyle practice and they've worked through things, or they're trying to get there and figure it out, right? There's varying degrees of success over time. But I think that we see two fundamental issues, right? So we have, if you think about the hub of a business, it's who are the clients, what's the staffing model, what's the operational model. Once you get that hub really optimized and dialed in, it's really a function of lead gen, right? Where's the new business coming from, and staffing up to support that lead gen. So you've got three core components of the business that really work, and we've got that well-oiled machine where we're not stuck in the seat, right? Where we're doing our best work and we're really leveraged and we're empowered and we have time, money, right? Freedom. And it's really the business that we set out to create in the first place.
Yeah.
Things get in the way, you walk through P&Ls all the time. And I was thinking about this when you were talking, right? This idea of scaling advice and watering down, which we'll talk about. And I was really reminded of a conversation that Michael Kitsis and I had with some of our leaders, which is a cohort of about 30 firm owners, right? Who want to hit that next level beyond themselves. And they would like a roadmap for that, right? So and the idea is, right, rather than figuring it out over the next 10 or 15 years, what if we just took a few years and built that roadmap? But it's funny because the conversation that we had at this last retreat, as we frame the conversation around building your delivery system, right? So we talk about value and brand and story and market positions and how to differentiate and build your growth engine. The back end of that is how do you build a delivery system where you can capture, communicate, and convey that value on the front stage in a way that really lands and resonates with an audience, right? And creates a lead gen. As you get bigger and older, right? And you want to grow more, you typically want that to be less and less dependent on you, which is a fundamental breakdown in our profession. We hire more advisors, and there's not one statistic that says they ever get to our level. We, on average, hire the next advisor when we get to about 800,000. Now think about that. If you have a 30% margin and you're making your take home, that's 240,000. A good advisor all in is going to cost you 150. You got 90,000 left. All right. So we have to hire the third person before that book is ever full. But if that book, right, gets full, that client base, if you will, on average, it does 600,000 to 700,000. Less than the principal that who's managing compliance, running, doing clients, managing a firm. So it makes no sense, right? So there's complexity and thus dilution. Now we got to hire, we got to train, we got to manage. Often we don't transition enough clients. We tend to transition just enough to cover their salary, which is really interesting. And then we stop. So we basically rented some time, but we are in no way optimizing for capacity. So our revenue per professional and our revenue per client and our profit per client are like the 4 data points that are going to tell you, can you attract clients and do you have a good delivery system? That's the profit piece, right? If you guys advisors make money and they love all over their clients and they do a good, right, they'll get it done. They will take care of their clients, but the lift and the effort personally and professionally is really hard. So the conversation frame was, let's shift what I call the P&L mindset. So we're really afraid in this space of think of the PE mindset. Slash burn. You don't need those people. Cut, right? You're like, oh, paper clips. You don't need paper clips, do you?
Yeah.
Right. No one. Very few people in this space. We abhor that. What we are very much, by contrast, is owners that live in what I call the personal P&L.
Yeah.
They really don't take that much. You hear that. You and I are probably like, we're just coming at it from the top and the bottom. I hear things like they don't really take that much time.
No.
Okay. So what you're telling me is that your business model is to take legacy clients, be the only profession that's not allowed to give themselves a raise, grow, or make a change. And we're going to just, this is the business model. We're going to minimize what we give them. Hopefully they won't ask for too much. We're going to tell ourselves they just don't take that much time. That's how we're going to manage it so we can keep the revenue, right? Or the person who's managing them. And what I always ask is, because I know the people on the other, right, there's good people out there. Would you ever sit across from a small client and say, hey, I just did an assessment with Catherine on my client base, and it turns out the clients that we've taken over the years that we just so really love, just given as the firm has grown and the depths of services and especially in inflation, our minimum cost of doing business is $5,000 a year. And it turns out, right, for smaller accounts, we're not able to provide the level of service that you need. In fact, what we need is more. What we would charge you is actually more than you need. And we wouldn't feel good about that, right? Like we can give people options to meet the minimum. We can transition them. We do it dozens and dozens and dozens of times a year. And you know this, not once has anyone called me up and said, that was awful. I take it back. Not once, not one. I tell you, I've done thousands of these, no joke.
Yeah.
Michael and I are literally in that process with this group of 30. Like we are what I call right sizing the client base. We did a profitability analysis, a capacity analysis. Tranches of clients are negative $2,142 negative. Stephanie, they don't really take that much time. I totally get that, but they do take time.
Yeah.
So we do the math on those 147 clients, and the next rate, it's 400 hours. Well, that's actually 20% of an advisor's time. So it's not just that it's not that much time or that much money. It's the opportunity cost. All the frustration, the grumbling, and the complaint is sitting in your unwillingness to address the obvious misalignment between the client model and the business model. And I know why we do it. Like, this is the coaching part. We don't want to be the bad guy. Stephanie, I never even thought I was going to be this successful. Hey, that's my, son's brother's, nephew's uncle who's in a wheelchair. I mean, I've heard all of it. And what it basically boils down to is we don't have a comfortable ability to explain our situation and give options that are fair to us while giving the other party the ability to leave with their dignity intact.
Yes.
We don't know how to do it. We think we're going to be the bad guy or they're going to hate us. So it's relationship. We are so terrified of that. It's revenue. I know I need that $87,000. Like sometimes you do, but we can build a transition over time, right? New dollars in, transition dollars out. So many of our larger clients now, 10 years ago, you had to give those clients away. Now you can do partial book sales. You can literally get 2 or 3 times revenue, use that to recapitalize. And then I tell people, like, what's your current growth rate? If you did nothing else, how long would it take you to get that revenue back? Right. It's usually 2 to 3 years. And we all know we're not going to do nothing else. Right. So now we've got time. And like one of our clients is literally going to get 70% of their time back. They have 335 clients in the bottom of their book. That they're going to package up, and we're going to partial book sale it to them 10 years ago. someone who cares, who will be like, I will overlove on them the way that you did, but now you can't anymore. Right. Who can grow with them, or who can charge them a fair fee relative to what they need. We don't need to skinny it down because they really don't need us or afford us, but we can't reconcile that. So we take it personal. We tell ourselves we need the revenue. We're a bad guy or gal, right? We got too big for our britches. And those are genuinely stories that stuck us.
Yeah.
Because usually when we look at the business, there's a goal of time, income, the kind of value we give to our clients. I ask people all the time, did you spend as much time as you'd like with your top clients? Nobody says yes. Yeah. I'm like, great. Then we're going to go to those small clients and we're going to be like, you're so lucky to be here because our big clients are actually underwriting your fees with their firm. So we're not going to give you that much. And when you come up, we're going to be like, they don't really take that much time, but we're not going to charge you a lot either. And we actually lose this money. Do you want to stay?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we would never do that. Right.
Yeah.
So the issue is we don't know how to scale up without feeling bad in our headspace. Like the business is not there. And it's because we get stuck in that personal P&L. Well, that hurts. Right. And what we want to do is we don't want to be the PE firm, right? I've sold and bought, no, that's not always the goal. What we want is the owner's mindset, which sits in the middle, which is we want to respect the feelings. There is signal. That signal says, is this an appropriate fee relative to the value that you're charging? You should actually ask yourself that question and be able to answer it and put your head on the pillow at night. But you should ask it. So one of my clients right now is not at the absolute top of the scale, but he's got a little room. And he said, our brains go, you and I know it's the details, oftentimes the average. Stephanie, I'm not going to do like a 30 basis point fee increase. That would be so egregious. And I'm like, I totally agree. I said, what about 5 basis points? And do you know how much that firm raised in ongoing revenue because of a 5 basis point increase, which there was plenty of room, $112,000. Yeah. Yep. So, out of the blue, now we have some profit. We can reinvest in getting the principal some leverage. We can invest in some dedicated marketing to get that growth engine going. Like now we're going to sit in that CEO seat and ask ourselves, what do I want to invest my time, energy, and capital in, and to what effect? Yeah. What's aligned and what's not. So it's working. Most of your clients like mine are doing good and they're making great money and they probably have some time. Some of them don't, right? But at the end of the day, it's working on paper. We're trying to optimize it. We get stuck and it keeps us fundamentally from answering the second more important question in my book, right? 1, is it working? 2, does it feel good? Yeah. I have bought and sold businesses. I don't have to work. Like I can tell you there is not any amount of money that you're going to put on a P&L statement that is going to fix your feelings. Yeah. It makes you comfortable. It makes things a lot more convenient. But at the end of the day, you take you with you.
Just a slight interruption in this conversation. I wanted to bring to your attention 2 things that are important for you to know. So we're always at the mercy of social media algorithms. So if you can subscribe to the show, that would mean a lot to me, even more to me if you can leave a rating and let me know what you think about it. But we have a new newsletter that's coming out. It's going to be very active in 2025. That is specifically around tax issues that I'm seeing advisors face in their own practices, changes in legislations, and the pieces that I think are critically important for you to stay ahead of as an advisor with the new administration. So nearby, wherever you're interacting with this, will be the link of how to sign up for our newsletter. Also nearby will be the link to my LinkedIn, which is the best way to get in touch with me, learn more about what we're doing for advisors in the tax strategy and compliance work that we do, and also to get access to the various tools and interviews and things that I do, specifically designed to help you improve your practice, improve your own tax situation, etc. So let's get back to the episode, and thanks for tuning in.
So if we can't sit in that CEO, headspace or mindset, right? That middle space between feelings and finances, and really align our decisions with the business that we want to create, with the value we want to deliver to clients. 90% of the advisors, 99% of the advisors I talk to, when I say, are you serving all your clients in a way that you feel really good, consistently, reliably? 90+% of them are like, no. I mean, we do great work. We show up. We know we're delivering. But man, the way that we do it, I don't feel great. I got to be there. All of that. And then when we work with firms, and you know this, right? Because you see it on the financial side, as you push decisions right from the bottom up. I push them from the top down. 2 or 3 years later, Catherine, these firms are no joke. Ask any one of our leaders. They're delivering 3x, 5x, 10x the value because it's clear, it's consistent, it's being delivered whether they're in the office or not. They thought about what goes into that deliverable or that workflow or that meeting. Everything is wildly on purpose. And so to your point around scaling, what we can do is we have to look at who's the client, what services do they need relative to capacity and profitability. And then we can build, and then we have to look at your goals and go, does that work? If we Monte Carlo your practice, so we have a tool you'll love. It's called the CPA tool, client profitability analysis. And I was like, if you took this to your CPA, this is exactly what they would tell you. So it really shows how you can shift client segments, fees, advisors, service models, and really what the what the ripple effect of that is. And when advisors see that, they're like, oh. So we use what we call a wedding cake service model. And if you're familiar with the wedding cake, you've got 3 tiers. So if you think about, you're going to have almost always, you might have more than 4 tiers if you're listening, but in our exercise, we force you into 4, right? Because the bottom tiers are usually 1 tier to be dealt with. Right. Almost always the bottom 50% of that tier is low or no profit. And it's genuinely being subsidized by the top clients, but it's ultimately taking most of the time. So and so we're in this virtuous, the bigger we get, the harder it is to succeed. Right. I call it the stress of success. When we build a service model, and the way that I explain it, because people's brains are like, you're going to take what's special away from my clients. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to make sure they get 10x that special consistently all the time, whether you're there or not. And if you're there, that's fabulous. You're going to be an amazing additive, but over a couple of years, it's not required. So the bottom layer of that wedding cake is what we call the MVP service model, minimum viable plan. Hey, here are the clients that we maybe need to take a look at, what I call the 3 terrifying transitions: fees, services, and advisor, right? Does there need to be a change to the fee, a change to the service model, right, to make an adjustment? Or does there need to be a change in advisor, either inside the firm or outside the firm, to make sure that need, cost, right, and profitability are not leaning in our favor to the disadvantage of the client, but are, maybe a little bit more fair and balanced, right? Reciprocity in the revenue part of the relationship. And so what happens is we get so locked into the revenue piece and the relationship piece, right? What are they going to say about me, and who can I be? And the rejection piece, like they're going to get mad, and they're going to get mad at me and say, how could you do this? Literally 1 in 1,000 people will, but that's it. Right. So we get so stuck on that we don't see like how we can functionally take our core services, the things that we do for every client. I call it the CFP stuff. All of you listening, talk to your clients about beneficiaries. It's what I call a low value, low impact activity until it's not. It takes 7 to 12 minutes in every meeting because you have to ask about it. It's usually not that exciting a conversation. And there went 7 to 12 minutes, which is why we never get through all the stuff in a meeting agenda, because we're trying to pack everything in, which, right, is very complex and dilutive. So we can basically streamline and systematize that with kind of your core. See, if like we have a client who sends a 1-page plan to his clients every month. The CRM updates what's on it and what's due and what's not due literally for him. And his clients are just sitting there in retirees with their coffee cup, and there it is in their inbox. They're like, oh my God, Chris is so on top of this. Chris has nothing to do with that outside of being there in the beginning when he built it. We'll use what we call spring cleaning letters, right, for the beneficiaries. Instead of taking those valuable relationship meeting minutes, we're going to do a spring cleaning letter that says, financial planning has big goals and be really complex, but sometimes it's just stupid, boring, mundane stuff like cleaning the dust buddies out of the corner. And it's that time of year again. And if everything's great, no worries. If it's changed, here's a Calendly link. Please reach out so we can connect with you. Here's your beneficiary, co-trustee, island trustee, all of that. And no one's going to call and say, thank you. Oh my God, Catherine, you're amazing. No, it's going to be a non-event. But in year 2 and in year 3 and in year 4, guess what happens? They know that you are there, reliable, like clockwork, doing the boring stuff. Like the value is there and you had nothing. So the job got done. It got better because it was faster, more consistent. It can be delivered in a great experience. You can package it up. You can send a video every time. Right. And now the team can do it. And I have absolutely nothing to do with it. So that's one little thing. We do it with what we call Rothtober. Right. So you can we have clients who literally deliver the plan virtually on a monthly or quarterly basis. And the conversations are like, hey, how's it going? What do you want to talk about? Because planning is literally so defined, which
Mm-hmm.
means that the clients are getting more, deeper, better because we've baked it into the system, and humans just need to push the buttons, which means the team and the talent, right? Your advisors
Mm-hmm.
now have a ton, like literally 50% or more of their capacity to love on the clients they have in ways that actually deepen value and build trust equity, not just, hey, did you do this or did you do that? We can spend time on growth, which is fantastic, right? If we have service advisors, it's share of wallet and relationships, right? And how do we deepen those relationships? Because that will every single time drive growth. Externally, it's right. How do we build a growth engine? To your point, how do we get a steady top line that's growing, which means almost always you have to stop making it all about you as the value, and you have to build a system. And the system is a brand, a story, a client avatar, right? That markety stuff we talk about. And yes, you can grow with COIs and referrals and networking, and that's being brilliant at the basics. And there's a certain amount of lever, right? And growth you can manage to that. And if you want to grow more than that, which I want to clarify is in no way required. Bigger is not always better. I like to say more isn't better. Better is better. Some of our really, right? Our lifestyle program is literally people that want $1 million, 100-day practice. They're like, that's it. I want to be great. You can get to like $1.5 million or 2 million, really honestly. So they're doing incredible. I mean, they're literally crushing the partners of large firms. So again, they'll have a different equity value on the other side, but they don't want to build mega firms. They have clients that are mega firms, right? And the principles apply. It's how you apply them. So if we've now taken and standardized, and I say that in the best of ways, the CFP basics, right? The MV. Now we have minimum viable planning. Any advisor, for the most part, can manage that for that client base. Your capacity's just tripled for that person, by the way, if you are keeping those clients. So now I can actually justify keeping them because I've made the return on time on an hourly basis, different than cost accounting, right? All expenses by. Your return on time is the time you spend as an advisor generating all the revenue or managing it for your firm. And that time has to pay for compliance and bookkeeping and meeting prep and everything. So that time we want to be a minimum of $1,000 an hour, which freaks people out. And then like the clients that I have that, their clients think they are the best thing since sliced bread. And here it gets better. Regularly get to $3,000 an hour. So and I say that because we're doing more, but the time we're spending with clients is clear. Advisors are conscious, they're present, they have everything they need to just show up. I mean, the depth of the relationship difference is staggering. You feel good because you're like if you ask our clients, be like, yeah, our clients are taken care of. We know they're taken care of. I'm going to go take a month off. I'm going to feel fine. If there's a problem, someone will call me. It doesn't mean there's not hard days or bad days, but the idea is there is a shift, and the success shift is it's about you want to specialize. You want to systematize a hyper specialized experience. And we've been taught to believe we can't do that. But if you look at what we're delivering now with tech and AI, I would just implore everyone to make that shift, because if you don't, you will be a commodity in 5 years. I don't think AI is going to put advisors or people out of business. It's going to put people who don't know how to use AI out of business.
Oh, absolutely.
The leverage is phenomenal. I can literally go do a financial plan with chat online. But I know, what did I do? I took it to my advisor. I was like, hey, right? So that's actually a good thing. And then it's going to really open up the marketplace. Everyone's going to have access to planning, which actually means more people are going to want help. So what most people are really terrified of, I'm like, how do we lean into it? So we've got to be differentiated. We've got to be specialized. Like, we've got to run a really effective business, because the marketplace that we're competing in going forward is going to reward people who can sit in that CEO mindset space. It doesn't mean that smaller advisors or people who just show up and care aren't going to do fine. But that's a very big difference between, I call it high growth and happy growth. And when we get to that place, when we're really clear about what we want to build and why, we know who our clients are, how we want to serve them, and that we can and are doing it in a way we feel good about. When we're sitting in our best seat doing work that we really like, that's energizing and empowering. We're not feeling grinded down and burnt out, right? We're leveraging people, process, and platform to optimize, right? To systematize and standardize, create leverage so we can help more people. right? The ripple effect, if you will. And then ultimately we want to build a growth engine, right? A service and operational model, as we talked about, right? The wedding cake, you get to that second tier. Now it's all systematized. Now, all those clients you never got to the good stuff, guess what you get to? Now
Only
you can,
the good stuff.
now you can sub-segment. So all the regular stuff is handled in a quick part of the meeting or throughout the year. Now I get to sub-segment and build specialized experiences for the little old ladies and the business owners and the tech execs and the Henrys and the Dinks, because all I have to do is sit down and be like, what do I want to have happen? And once it's built, I can literally push a series of buttons and deliver a hyper specialized experience at scale. And they will feel 10x the love, said with all respect, of the guy or gal who is sitting in their office, diligently working harder. I call it service inflation, trying to keep up. We are not seeing fee compression. We're seeing service inflation. We have to do more. We have to do better. It needs to be a more specialized experience. Clients want to be more accessible. They want advice coming through all their channels. And so in that sense, not as a fear monger, but as a right, in every shift, there is also opportunity, but you have to step into it, because what worked in the past will work. But if you really want an optimal practice that maximizes your finances and your freedom and your fulfillment, right, and your ability to deliver that to clients, it's going to mean you really want to sit in that owner's mindset seat. You want to look at your business strategy. You definitely want to manage your finances and your P&L and your KPIs and your benchmarks, because those are the dashboard that tell you, are you on track or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and it's funny too, because when I had this conversation earlier today with an advisor about his firm, and I said, you really have to see it like you're two people, right? You're the advisor, you're the owner, you're the employee, but then at the same time, you like this asset that you're building of a practice, you're an investor in this. Like you're investing your time, you're investing your sweat equity. Treat it as like, a stock. Like, would you pick this thing? Like, what needs to change here for this to actually be a good investment? Not just, this is my practice and I'm loving clients, which is, that's wonderful. And there's, that's a beautiful sentiment. But in terms of you actually building something that is an asset that you're stewarding, that's, supporting the clients better. And then also supporting a team in a way that team is also going to thrive. You do have to like kind of have this out of body experience of like, okay, pretend I'm an investor and this is, my neighbor's business down the street. And he's asking me to look at it.
Yeah. And it's such a good framing, right? Because as an investor, right, the owner, if you will, self-investing in this example, it's the feeling that makes them successful 99% of the time, right? It's that care and the passion and we know this about every entrepreneur ever, right? If you just take a person and be like, here's a cool thing, go do it, they're not going to succeed, because it is a fire that has to be lit within you, right? Only crazy people do this stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
I always say, running a business is literally like being on a wild ride, right? A roller coaster that swings from euphoria to exasperation and back again daily with no Dramamine, right? It's amazing. I hate this. I mean, like every 17 minutes, right? It's like the weather in the mountains. It just constantly changes. And that's where I think sitting in that kind of owner investor mindset says the feelings are important. It's a signal. Am I doing the right thing? I don't want to take advantage of people. Is there room in my fee schedule? Can I have a dignified conversation that says actually keeping you as a client isn't in best service of you, because we'd have to charge you more than you need? And honestly, we don't feel good about that. And you wouldn't feel good about that. And there's some great firms out there, right, that are really at a sweet spot to work with people like you, just the way I was 15 years ago. And we've got some people that we feel really good about, or someone we feel good about, that we'd be happy to refer you to. If you want to use another option or think about it, we completely understand. We won't take it personally. We promised when we took you on as a client that we would always serve you in a way that met your best interest and is reflect on our business and where we are. We want to make sure that we continue to honor that commitment with all our clients, and that warranted us having this conversation with you. Now, I just riffed that, right? You're going to polish that up a little. No one's going to be like, you a-hole. How could you not take advantage of me? No, okay. I'm not kidding. I've got statistics. I got to map them out. Best guess, like 1 in 1,000. Someone will be like, really? right? But like 99.99999% of the time, it is a non-event and it freaks people out. Literally, like one of our clients, literally the wife, he raised his fees 3x from $600 literally to like 3,000. And one of the clients looked at her spouse and said, it's like a shitty car payment. We should do that. No, I cannot make it up. Right. So he is like wringing himself inside out. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
He tripled his fees because he had just been so low.
Yeah.
He was not adding any services. He was already doing plenty. He was just not charging for it. And he was going on a bifurcated fee model of AUM and a subscription charged to their credit card on Advice Pay. So if you are afraid of this, just know that it was every hard thing you can do stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
And he lost one.
Yep.
And now his practice, literally, that was the trigger mechanism to sit in that owner investor mindset. And he's literally 6x in like 6 years. Has a steady growth rate of 40%. Travels, he's got a plane, he's got a great team that runs the business. I mean, he's literally sitting in that CEO growth ambassador seat. And 6 years ago, no joke, he was making 220 grand a year going, I just can't figure out why I've been stuck here for 10 years.
Yeah. Yep.
And so we've talked, strategies and service models and staffing, but what you and I know is, I think the key takeaway for anyone listening is it's that what's your mindset around your P&L, not just from a dollars and cents perspective, but what do you want? You're investing the best of your time, energy, and capital in your business, right? And Catherine, I tell people all the time, if you want to have a lifestyle practice and pay your son-in-law too much and work with unprofitable clients, I don't care. I say this with all the love in my heart. I'm fine either way. What I do want to do is make sure that my clients or the people that I have, the privilege of talking to when I get invites like this, is I want to make sure that people have the information they need to make good, informed choices about their business, understanding why what's happening is really happening. It is not some big squishy, I don't know, that I don't have control of.
Yeah.
It, you can go down a P&L and be like, wow, we're spending 40% of our headcount on staff, and you're still stuck in the seat and feeling grindy. Does not compute. There's clearly a breakdown there. Your P&L will tell you everything you need to know. I just come top down, right? I look at obviously we look at P&Ls, but I can just look at a business and be like, ding, 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 ding. Yep. You can look at a P&L and be like, ding, 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 ding. And in the middle is where advisors live, right? We want to have the vision. We want to do great work. We want to take care of our clients and our team. We would really like to take care of ourselves. And we want, we want it to keep growing. And that actually means that we have to develop more discipline and discernment. And that's what you and I do for a living. We disrupt, we provide an external source of discernment, and then we help with the discipline piece until people can really adopt, and I call it integrating, over time. Our leaders, they just literally, we have a leader, he's on his 5th segmentation review. He doesn't call me anymore. He's like, okay, I hit capacity before I go hire the next person. I'm not going to do what everyone else does. I'm going to go to the bottom of my client base. I'm going to be like, let's pack, right? So he's like, anytime he wants time, he just packages the bottom. And when he's at the minimum that he literally the cream of the crop, his profit margin will be 4x. His revenue will be 2x. He'll work 70% few hours on clients. And he'll have, if he wants to grow, he can grow any way that he wants to, right? Right now it's him, 2 staff, and a service advisor. And he's and that him, there's many hims, but that kind of leverage and lifestyle, whether you have a small practice or a big one, is really possible. You and I know that the devil is in those details, that without the discipline and the discernment, it's really hard to see.
Oh yeah, it's impossible. And it's funny because I have a lot of conversations with a lot of different firm owners, and I work with a lot of RIAs. And so I'll go and look up their ADV and I'll be like, okay, well, what kind of AUM are we working with? And then, we'll have that first conversation of okay, so how much AUM is here? And they'll, tell them, and I already know. And then I'll be like, and how many households do you serve? And then they tell me the number. And they're like, and then what's top line revenue? And then they'll give me that number. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't even need to see your pay. I don't even need to see the
you just know.
And it's how many people are on the team? It's okay. I already know, kind of.
I have 1.2 million in revenue and 8 people on the team. And I'm like, oh, you have a 7% profit margin. I don't even need to see your P&L to tell you.
Yeah. It's okay. I kind of get the sense of, but then also for me, it tells me a lot about, what's the maturity of the business owner that I'm working with. Of okay, if these ratios are really, really off, that's telling me that this person is still very stuck. Because I think for a lot of the advisors, and this is just true, I think, amongst anybody in professional services, is especially if you grow up, your technical acumen and the ability to advise is really, really strong. And that's the initial skill set that serves you very, very well. But then once you transition into running a practice and owning a practice, it is a completely different skill set to do that correctly. And that the technical acumen that you've built up with advisory is not really going to translate because you're playing it's a different game.
Yeah, it's interesting. I talk to advisors all the time, and I'm like, you sit down with clients, you ask them their goals, you tell them the good and bad. I said, it's really the same thing. But as you and I know, it's easy for you and I because we're not emotionally attached to it, right?
Yeah.
We are the outside perspective, right? That's why I have outside people and you probably have outside people, which is, to your point, every iteration of our business is essentially just a leverage shift, right? When we're to your point, we have and then we hit that first person, and that's pretty simple. And then we add a couple more people, or another advisor, either a service advisor, a rainmaker. And when we start managing capacity beyond ourselves, that's when complexity increases, which is why a lot of people are like, yeah, I really don't want to do that, even though they end up having to, because it's 7.5% growth. You're going to double every 10 years, no matter what. Yeah. And most people are growing it faster, right? Which means on average, the average firm is going to double every 5 to 7 years if they're doing anything. Yeah. And we don't think about, hey, I've got 5 people in 5 years. I'm going to have 10 people and 400 clients. And is that going to be better? So I think to your point, it's really sitting in the space of asking ourselves, right? Are we getting the outcomes that we want with the time, energy, and capital that we're investing? Yep. And if we're not, then we need to ask ourselves, what are we going to do about it, right? To our conversation, like, how am I going to unstuck myself? Because what you know and I know is you don't have to do it. Mm-hmm. It is very solvable. It does require some uncomfortable thinking and conversation and maybe action. But on the other side, I'm pretty sure you're in the same boat as me. 99.999, I would say 100. I just try not to jinx it. Yeah. I'll say that was what I needed to do. I'm better. Clients are better. The business is better. Like, this is a win.
Yeah, team's happy. Yeah.
Every time. Right. Yeah. But it feels very, think of your high school driver's ed class, where we did the box and hydroplaning. Mm-hmm. Right. And he was like, when you go to hydroplane, what's the first thing we want to do?
You want to turn the wrong way, right?
From it. And our driver instructor literally yelled at us. He's like, don't do it. And I was like, to this day, 30 years, I remember it. Yeah. It was a moment. And I've hydroplaned like 3 times in my life. And do you know what? Every single time that guy pops into my head, no joke, which I think is why he did it. Cause he yelled at us on, the giant screen. It wasn't even real. Yeah. And I never forget it because it reminds me so much of advisors is what you and I are asking the listeners to do is turn into the skid. Yeah. Right. It feels uncomfortable. It feels vulnerable. It doesn't feel right. Yeah. And yet trusted outside resources are saying this is probably the best thing. Mm-hmm. And we tend to cocoon ourselves from that kind of information. So if you're listening to this podcast, I applaud you because it means that you're open, you're interested, and you're really looking for ways to really unpack that next level of success. And I promise you, it's there for you. It is just 100% on the other side of your comfort zone. I know it's so cliche, but it's true. But it really is true.
And I think, your point too, because a lot of people say, oh, well, this is going to be uncomfortable and this is serving me. But in reality, it's not. It's you serving the clients better. It's you serving your team better too. That you've built a better environment for them to succeed because they're not having, the sheer volume of what they're having to deal with is so much less.
Well, I always tell people, would you rather have 150 clients, hypothetical example, where you're ignoring 50% of them and hoping they don't ask you for anything and telling yourself they're just too small? Let's minimize them all day long. Mm-hmm. The other 100, you're desperately scrambling to keep up with. The top 25, you're doing okay, but you wish you could do more. You just know that you could wow them. Or would you like a client base of 200 where, you're working with 50 people that you really love and you're running the firm and, you've got another advisor, whatever that version of the model is. Yeah. It's literally a series of choices away, right? Can we get clear? What do we want and why? Can we get focused? What's it really going to take? Mm-hmm. And then can we get to work, having the clarity and the discernment, making the decision and executing around them? Because when we put that effort in, I tell people all the time, if you work the plan, it's reliable. The plan will work. The plan will work.
Yep. And it's just a number, once you figure out it's really just it's just a numbers game. And
it really is.
Yeah. And
if we could detach the economics from the emotions from the economics, everybody would be a millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right? That's great. So for advisors who are looking to get into your world, Stephanie, what's the next best step for them to take
great question. I was just so focused on our conversation with the marketing part. Absolutely. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out at limitlessfa.life. We've got a Monday newsletter called Monday Mojo, which is
great.
Which is really, it's fun. I do write all that. Actionable insights to elevate your work, your wealth, and your well-being. We've got both our lifestyle and our leaders coaching program, which you can learn more about there if you're interested in taking your business to the next level and not just building a wildly successful business, but doing it in a way that you love as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So for those of you listening, we'll post in the show notes all of those resources for you. And I'm always interested in hearing feedback, but any final thoughts you have, Stephanie, before we sign off today?
This quote keeps coming up to me lately. So, I just feel like it's my job to pass it on, which is, if you're challenged by this conversation, if it makes you a little bit uncomfortable, that is not a sign to sidetrack it, step aside, or sideline it. Mm-hmm. That is a very clear signal that this conversation landed with you, that there's a more and better waiting for you on the other side of your whatever work you need to do, right? Big, small, or otherwise. So the quote that I read that's really sticking with me that I'll end with is, "The cave you fear to enter is where your treasure lies."
Oh, that's a good one. It's like really a fortune cookie.
It's really good. Yeah, my fortune cookies are never that good. And honestly, they kind of piss me off because 9 out of 10 of them are observation cookies. Did you notice that? It's like, your door will open. That is not a fortune. I want great joy will rain down upon you.
Yeah. The clients won't be mad if you cut, the lower. Yeah.
That's right. That's what we should do. We should do like the practice management fortune cookie.
You should. Yeah. It's like, if you do
Those would be great giveaways at events. I'm going to do it.
There you go. You can take that one with you. So for those of you listening, thanks for joining us. This is another episode of the Financial Advisors Want to Know podcast.
Thanks so much.